Fuji will always be the mysterious girl that glances at you and then disappears from your life forever. Very intriguing. But like, are you gonna live with them? I'll never forget going into Thailand and seeing the Fuji X-T3 for the first time, and I was kind of intrigued by the dials. I was like, wow, I can just make one auto and the other auto, or just control it. Wow. I love the Fuji look. Sometimes I do hate it for some reason. You know it's true. Sometimes Fuji has that white balance perfect, and then the colors are just blowing you away, like better than Canon colors. And then other days you're like purpley or red, and it's like, why did you make that decision? What did I do to you? So as a former XH2s owner, ended up selling it, this is what it would take to get me back in your good graces.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Pay no attention to the mysterious green glowing bottle of water. You're probably imagining it. The Fuji, I was looking back at some older footage because sometimes I'll do like a comparison for a video and I mention like how terrible Fuji's 240 frames was, so I'll go grab that clip, show it, and then I was looking at the nostalgic neg. I was sitting out here in front of the window and I was like, man, I love those Fuji colors sometimes. Those are so beautiful. Like next to me, he probably looks better. And I was like, Canon's a little orange, a 1080p max, what did I do? If it was up to me, and it was, obviously, I would have kept the Fuji XH2. It's like, I liked using it more than this bullshit Canon EOS R, but I couldn't justify spending $3,300 on it. That was the thing, it was just like overpriced for what it was. But the key to me loving that footage was the 18mm 1.4 prime. It was a Fuji lens, and that's where Fuji shines, with a Fuji lens, not a Viltrox, not even that Zeiss. That lens just isn't wide enough though for YouTube. It's just like a bit of an awkward focal length. It can't, if I want to work out and film something, it's like, okay, you could do it, but it's not going to work for every scene, and I don't know, 27mm, it's awkward. So my first hope is that Fuji knows that we want a wider prime but still fast. I'm not talking about a vlogging lens here, because I think maybe that 8mm 3.5 would suffice. It'd be fun for vlogging. Super light, as long as the corners aren't waving, I could dig it. I would like either a 14 to 16 1.4, any of those. I miss that 14mm 2.8. It was magical, but not magical enough as it could be with a 1.4 Tony-acher, or 1.2, if you could throw it in there. The 16mm 1.2, and don't cheap out. Keep it the vintage character look of your older primes. Don't be doing modern stuff and removing chromatic aberrations. So that's the main thing. There was no magic lens for YouTube hobo life. This is reflecting off my skin. It was too magical to remove. The next thing I want, an 8.3 megapixel, non-stacked, maybe non-X-trans sensor. Don't even, I'm sorry I even said that. I think I want X-trans. It's just, I don't know what happened with your 240 frames in that stacked X-trans. I don't think you can stack an X-trans. They've proven it. So just keep it X-trans, but don't stack it, and maybe play around with a non-X-trans and show it to me first before I buy it in your store window. From what I've researched, 8.3 megapixels is what you need for 4K video. Having just that amount means the pixels are huge. APS-C sensor, you already rival full frame dynamic range with your F-Log2. Imagine if it was an actually big pixel, low megapixel sensor. Because the XH2s is what, 26? It's disgusting. Who needs that for video? You're ridiculous. 6.2K. It was the ugliest mode I've ever seen. It was so over-sharpened and clinical. Disgusting. So 4K masterpiece, and you're doing 4K 240p and HD 480p. And that gets me into the Fuji XH3s with money transferred online. Your lineup is too confusing to me right now. Your X Pro line, photography centric, has better dynamic range in video than the XT4 did. Why? And like your XH2 has better IBIS in video than your XH2s. I don't understand what is going on. So make this a video camera. XH3V for video. Because look, I'm in denial that Sony a7S III is not a video-centric camera. It's a sensitivity-centric camera that can do really good video because of that. Nothing's being designed. You could say the FX3 was supposed to be for video, but they didn't actually change anything but the body. And now they're pretending to add these firmwares that matter, like all those weird log formats that should be shot in the dick. So keep your X Pro 3 and XT line mostly photography, somewhat hybrid, and then like have this one as a video camera, low megapixels, super dynamic range, super speed without the need for stacked noise introducing sensors. Next thing is to work on your algorithms for autofocus. I think you have the processing power, but something's off. It wasn't latching on to human faces. It was very good for this type of thing, but this isn't very hard. You have a man in a living room talking for some reason. He should shut up sometimes. It's not hard to track. Almost anything can do it. Even Pantyboy does it now. But the animal eye detect in particular was very... It just kept hunting. No matter what your settings were, it was like, okay, you're tracking the bird, and then it's drifting back, and then you got it. Like, why do you keep guessing? And the fact that you could not make an autofocus box and have it only stay in that box. Every other camera system I know of has that box, and it limits to that box. Like, that's why the box is there. It doesn't go outside this box. Yes, I would need a fourth hand to complete that box. But like, Fuji just, it'll guess out here, even though your box is right here. So like, I've isolated a bird, here we are, and you're looking out here for birds. Stop that. This is the box. And fix the little quirks where like, okay, manual focus override, there it is. I can no longer punch in to check focus now. Whereas if you're in manual focus, originally, you can punch in while recording. I don't understand like what happened with that. It's probably coming in a firmware, it's probably already out. Now this next option, you have two choices. Either a better price or beat full frame specs, because you did one and not the other last time. You were like full frame priced but not beating full frame specs. Like 4K 120p has been done, HD 240 it's established. You have to go beyond that now. Beat the Sony a7S III for the same money, or don't beat it for much less, or tie it for much less. Match it. I just think the XH2s was overpriced, and it was hard to justify that for an APS-C sensor with the performance I was getting, the unreliable autofocus and the noise. Something's gotta change. You need way better IBIS. Every time you release a camera, it does not really improve. Sometimes it gets worse. I found the X-T4 to be better in a lot of ways. It did warp more, but it was more stable as well. So you're not on even like Panasonic full frame level. That's weird. It's not the sensor size, it's your technology. Something's off. You're using magnets or something. I think Panasonic used springs. Learn from what works. It's not good. It's pretty good for telephoto if you're still, but as you move, it's jerky, and for vlogging, it's jerky and never smooth. It's not good at all. It needs to be much better. Your custom dial needs to be on the right side. It's so awkward on the left. It was so dumb. Like, I'm up to the viewfinder. I'm shooting 4K 120p. I want to now switch into 240 and keep that bird where it is to compare them. I can't. I have to either go over, top, under. Like, there's no way to do it easily and keep the bird in your shot, whereas if it was on the right side, you can just do that. I love Panasonic for this the most because they have like 10 custom modes in C4, and I just press the back button, it brings up the list, I go up or down and confirm. 3 presses, boom, down, boom, and then I'm in. I still got my shot. And I wouldn't hate a photo video switch as well. So you have like C1 to C7 and then switch into photo, and it's a completely different thing. You have to be able to separate the custom buttons for photo and video. Right now, they're just the same. Slow motion button, boom. Switch to photo. That slow motion button doesn't do slow motion photos, it does nothing now. That has to be separated with the photo video switch. 7 custom modes each. 14, leading the industry. All right, couple more tweaks. Linear focus adjustments. Your 100 to 400 was way too slow to manually focus, and you can't adjust it. In Panasonic, I can adjust it. In Sony, I don't need to adjust it. It's just good. It's maybe too sensitive, but I can use it. Very slow tweaks, and it's nice. Yours is way too long, so let me adjust it or make it better. I think the 150 to 600 was better, but like, where's all your other lenses now are not better? That's mean and unfair. You need to make LUTs for all your film simulations. F-Log 2 to Eterna, we have that. F-Log 2 to Nostalgic Neg, we do not. Why do I have to choose between the best dynamic range or the look that I want, when you could give us both? Boom, shoot an F-Log 2 and then pick your film sim after. Can you imagine it? I could imagine it. Just do it. You did it in the camera, now do it for DaVinci. Only DaVinci, not Premiere Pro, they don't deserve it. Last thing, I wouldn't mind a professional like 400mm Tony Ford lens, something like that. I don't know if I could even handle it. But I could do with a better, like a 100 to 400 Mark II that's just better in some way. It felt like it was not doing the things I wanted it to. It just wasn't sharp enough at times. The bucket on it was a little busy. You could improve that lens. That's an old lens. And you went shooting for the stars on a 600mm Tony 8. Not enough Tonys. So back it down a notch. So I think that's about it. It's a lot to ask, but that's what would get me back excited to be in Fuji. Any camera company could also follow these rules, by the way. There's minor tweaks in there, but that low megapixel sensor, we're hoping for it. You know what's hilarious, and I will leave after this? Our good buddy Sony X3000? How many megapixels was that? Why was it so good? Oh, 8 point something. It's not on my screen. That's on me. It was low. A little 8 megapixel sensor, and it like had the best image, and it still does. A decent dynamic range. The color science so natural and red, lobster faced. Beautiful. That's what camcorders are meant for. Stop making the photo hybrid. I could take good photos with my Sony a7S III. You don't know that I couldn't. It's enough megapixels, but this is your video line. So do you agree, or did I just ruin the Fuji XH2s lineup with those tweaks? I know some people like their 6K open gate. It's like, you're in a different world than what needs to exist. You should be in prison. I'll leave after you buy some Fuji related item through my affiliate links and a Camera Conspiracies t-shirt. Good talk.